This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
CBD is a game changer sweeping the nation. This hemp extract is the natural way to elevate your mood, eliminate aches and pains, reduce anxiety, and keep you sleeping all night long. It can even cut your workout recovery time in half. Get in the game today with 20% off all orders of CBD and lavender products from Lavender Lane, a lavender farm located right here in Milan, Michigan. Just go to lavenderlanemi.com today and enter coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your entire order. Guys, look, these amazing products are infused with calming lavender to maximize their effectiveness, meaning your CBD items only take minutes to take effect, which is way quicker than those pills you were about to swallow. On top of it, they are perfect for men and women. Lavender Lane has lab-tested CBD creams, tinctures, and roll-ons that are perfect for any situation, even if you're on the go. Put your health back in your hands by heading over to lavenderlanemi.com and entering coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your entire order of CBD and lavender products. What do you have to lose? Your satisfaction is guaranteed or your money back. So if you need lavender gifts for your loved ones or just looking for the natural way to ease your discomfort with CBD, go to lavenderlanemi.com and use coupon code DETROIT to unlock these miraculous benefits of CBD and lavender. That's lavenderlanemi.com. And remember, use coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your CBD and lavender products from Michigan's own Lavender Lane.
What's up, Detroit sports fans? Welcome back to the Fan Reporter Show, made by fans, for fans, powered by the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I'm Nick. My boy Andrew, sitting right across from me, is going to give us this week's topics.
Do you expect Matt Patricia to be back next year? Is there any hope for a turnaround for the Pistons? Are Detroit sports more depressing than Manchester by the Sea? Will Lightning McQueen buy car insurance or life insurance? We ask these questions and more next.
Okay, well, you heard the man. Apparently, we're talking life insurance today. We are now
No, honestly, though, would Lightning McQueen buy car insurance or life insurance?
Package deal. He'd get one of those new insurance bundles.
I mean, car insurance would be cheaper, right? And I think it would insure him the same way, wouldn't it?
Life insurance isn't expensive.
I know, but...
Especially if your employer pays for it.
True. But does he have an employer?
Of course he does.
I've never seen cars.
Me neither. So we're talking insurance today. We've now become a Saturday morning talk
podcast,
show.
Yep.
So obviously this weekend was a very depressing weekend for the Lions. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming we want to start out with that, or do you want to start with some Pistons talk, or apparently Manchester by the Sea?
Let's do Lions, and if we have time, we'll get to the Pistons.
Okay,
the Lions are the more pressing topic of the day.
I would tend to agree, just because it's Pistons season. I mean, has gotten going, but is there really all that much to talk about?
It's the season's gotten going. They haven't apparently woken up yet. They don't. I don't think they realize that the season started. I think they're just kind of.
Well, I'll tell you, Blake Griffin sure hasn't. No, we'll start with the Lions. This weekend, the Lions lost to the Redskins in embarrassing fashion. Jeff Driscoll, who had played actually halfway decent to this point in his starting debuts, I guess, mailed in a performance this weekend.
Let's put it this way: they lost to a quarterback who cared so much about winning, he was taking selfies while they were in video formation. All right,
yeah. They had to literally search for their backup quarterback in case Keenum to have a quarterback in there to snap the football or to catch the snap to take a knee. If that happened with one of my players and I was coach of that team, that motherfucker, that dude would be benched.
Is that explicit? He didn't finish the word technically.
No, it is not. That dude would be benched.
Off to a good start.
Yes, off to a good start.
All right.
No,
watching this game yesterday, like the more I watch, the more I'm like, I really hope they lose. Like this, I want the bomb to fall out.
It was so embarrassing. It was such a bad game.
I want everyone gone. Like at this point, I want the bomb to fall out with this team. I can't. If we're sitting competing with the Redskins, if it's a close competition, lose. I don't care.
The Redskins had won, I believe, one game previously.
One game, yes.
And now they have two.
We're that much closer.
And the Lions have three. So that tells you that we are one game maybe better than the Redskins, but apparently they beat us, so we're not even that. Does this team win another football game this year?
it's very plausible they don't. I mean, obviously, Redskins are the easiest game left in your schedule.
Yeah.
But
Do they win 5 games?
no, I'd be hard pressed to say 5.
Tampa's not exactly rolling right now, so I think that's a team that you can beat.
But watch what our defense is going to do against Tampa. Just watch.
True. Yeah, rushing 3 against a team that trots out Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Have fun.
Tampa's going to sit that pigskin up our you know what,
Yeah.
But
oh my God.
I think Denver maybe, Chicago maybe.
Denver can run the football at times, especially against bad run
That's
defenses.
why I said maybe. I didn't say we're going to beat Denver.
Chicago sucks. We shouldn't have lost to them before, and I don't think we'll lose to them this time. Are we really as bad as Chicago? It's hard pressed for me to say we are. But then again, with Jeff Driscoll as our quarterback, I will say Bo Scarborough looks like a talent.
He does.
He although albeit his best game was against the Redskins, so pump the brakes there.
Best out of 2 games. So.
I know, which he was actually fairly effective in his first game also.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe he's something. I am not sold yet. I would like to see him go up against some of the, I give him the rest of the year and we'll talk.
Yeah.
But that's really the only positive to take out of that game, frankly. Your quarterback threw 3 picks. Your defense gave up TOP, couldn't get a stop, couldn't get to the quarterback for the most part, couldn't make plays against a bad offense and a rookie quarterback making his 3rd career start.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Not a lot to take home from that game and not a lot to be proud of. They looked lifeless out there. They looked like they didn't want to be there. I don't know if it was the cold weather out in Washington. It was the fact that tickets were $4 going into that game. What was there to be excited about for that game? Because certainly fans were not.
Yeah. Well, honestly, no one was watching that. Only reason I was watching that game because that was the only game on TV.
And I don't even think it was all that cold in D.C.
Yeah.
Was it? What was the weather in D.C. this weekend? I don't even know. I watched very little of that game. I'll be honest. I caught the parts of the game that I caught while I was at a bar, which actually was a decent amount of the game, to be completely honest. But I wasn't intently watching the football game. I watched our return man Marvin Hall catch a ball at the 1-yard line, try to run it out. That was cool. Yep, because that's what you're supposed to do as a return man.
Let it go.
Yeah. You know what this game reminded me of? It reminded me of the Lions teams that were continuously winning 2, 3, and 4 football games, if that. Like the teams the 0-16
the Rod
teams.
Marinelli team, the Steve Mariucci team.
Yes. It reminded me of those games, like stupid mistakes like
Morley
that.
teams.
Yes, the stupid mistakes like that, the bad quarterback reads, the bad defensive mistakes. Someone makes an explosive play once and everybody goes nuts on your team, but you're still losing to one of the worst football teams in the country.
Yep.
Like Jared Davis made a good sack where he was totally unblocked. It blew up Dwayne Haskins. You would have thought the team won the damn Super Bowl with the way they reacted. Because holy shit, dude was on fire. He went nuts. He was jumping around. I think he and Jelani Tavai could have won the Olympic gold for the high jump on their chest bump. Like holy hell, man! What was there to be proud of? You did your job on one damn play. One play. That was the best,
against a team that you should be doing your job more often than not.
Yeah.
So.
And then you make stupid mistakes like not allowing the ball to go out into the end zone on a punt return. Like that's stuff that the old Lions of old used to do. We brought in Bob Quinn to change the mentality in this organization. We brought in Matt Patricia because 9-7 wasn't good enough, and this was a better roster than a 9-7 football team, and Caldwell wasn't getting it done. Well, to this point, Matt Patricia in now 27 football games, I believe, has exactly 9 wins.
And here's the thing. So, past couple of games, you heard a lot of people, and it's a logical argument to make. Like, yeah, obviously we're down a lot of guys. Like, this is an injured football team. We no longer have the personnel to compete with some of the better teams in this league. You have the personnel to beat the Washington Redskins. So,
even without Stafford at the quarterback, you have the personnel to beat a Redskins team.
This is the game,
especially a Dwayne Haskins.
Where if it wasn't already, the barrel is smack dab focused on Matt Patricia now.
Oh, no question. I think it absolutely should be smack dab focused on Bob Quinn as well. I know, think they're tied hand in hand.
Like for people that are arguing that it's not Patricia, like this is the game where the crosshairs are not like you can't argue anymore. Like this is the game that Matt Patricia should be able to coach this team to win.
Yeah. It's the Redskins suck.
Yeah.
Like, there's no questions, ifs, ands, or buts about it. The Redskins are a bad football team.
Yeah.
There's no reason to lose to them. Their only win came against the Miami Dolphins team that looked like they were trotting out 8th graders. Okay? No, I think they beat the Dolphins. Yeah, they did. Their only win prior came against a Dolphins team that looked like an 8th grade football team.
That's what you said.
And now they have 2, and one of them's against you. That's embarrassing. That is straight up embarrassing.
All right, they beat that team by 1 point.
Yeah, they beat you by 3.
You're their biggest win. Biggest margin of victory on the year for the Redskins is against you. How does that feel, Nicholas? Being a Lions fan, remember we were projecting out the next few games after that. We were saying like
we said we need them to go 3-1.
Yeah.
Well, they haven't won a single one.
And the Redskins, like the most comfortable one we were picking. Like, yeah, we could. I'm very comfortable saying we'll win this game. And yeah,
I'll be honest with you. I don't see a game for the rest of the season that this team should win at this point. Maybe Chicago at home. That's about it. And isn't Chicago at home Thanksgiving Day?
Yeah, that's Thursday.
Coming off a short week, I don't know. And especially considering Jeff Driscoll's now beat up. And apparently the XFL stopped you from signing Josh Johnson.
Well, both teams are coming off a short week, so.
I know, but it's embarrassing.
Yeah, I don't have any confidence in you going to Minnesota and winning.
Oh, hell no.
I actually do not have the confidence in you being able to stop anyone on the Buccaneers, so I think you're going to get rolled over in that game. Again, I don't see you being the Packers.
No.
Because the Packers may very well be playing for playoff seeding games, week 17.
And division championship with the way the Vikings are playing, and they just got blown up by the Niners.
So I'm saying the only other game that I think you could possibly win, not including Thanksgiving, is the Broncos. That's easy. That's the worst team on your schedule of the next 4 games after Thanksgiving.
Pretty much, yeah. It's embarrassing right now.
And I agree with you that I think they're better than the record suggests. The Broncos.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they are. I think they're just a football team that's missing some pieces, and they're big pieces, and that's why they're struggling so bad. Their O-line's not very good, and they have a talented running back that's not able to make plays because of it.
Yeah.
Their quarterback they drafted is either a bust or is just not ready. The quarterback that they have, and Joe Flacco, is way past his prime and is frankly just not very good. And then their defense is, their better players are aging outside of a couple of guys. So they're not the same. It's not the same vaunted Broncos defense that we've come accustomed to in the last 5, 6, 7 years.
Well, Joe Flacco isn't QBing for the Broncos. It's
Drew Lock now, right?
No, Brandon Allen.
Oh, Brandon Allen. Yeah, that's right. Sorry. Brandon Allen? Is that his name? Okay. Anyways.
He's not very good.
No, he's not. And Flacco wasn't very good either. So it's... Sure, that outside of Thanksgiving Day against the Bears, that is probably your best opportunity for a win. I'm still not going to entirely count out the Tampa game just because Tampa's defense is so abysmal. Outside of the run game is pretty stingy, or the run D is pretty stingy, but it's tough to watch this football team right now. It really is, and it's become yet another season that honestly it feels like we're watching the Morningwig, Mariucci, Marinelli years. It really does. Yeah. Because the mistakes I'm seeing on the field and all I can picture when Jared Davis
this is the worst defense I've seen since those years.
Oh God, yes. When Jared Davis went and chest bumped the hell out of Jelani Tavai after his sack, you know what that made me reminisce of? Roy Williams signaling for a first down on a 12-yard route when you're down by 27. That's what that reminded me of.
I used to love that.
I did too. Not gonna lie, that shit used to make me laugh so hard.
Because those were days I wasn't mad at the Lions losing because I'm expecting the Lions lose.
Right.
I'm not expecting him to compete, so I'm just getting a kick out of it when he does that.
It's embarrassing to be a Lions fan right now, and how do we make the change? Matt Patricia is obviously a big portion of the blame here. I think Bob Quinn deserves a lot of the blame. T.J. Hawkinson's been quite literally non-existent this year. He had one good game against the team against the worst defense against tight ends in the league, and since then he's quite literally been non-existent. Like he sucks. He can't catch the football. He has a lot of drops. He's not a very good route runner apparently, and I know it's tough for tight ends to translate to the NFL.
An offensive lineman is basically what you drafted.
And frankly, one that can't stop the more elite pass rushers because he's too small and not quick enough. and doesn't have good enough technique to do that. He's a secondary blocker. Like that's what he is.
Yeah.
He's a good one. Don't get me wrong. But he isn't effective in the passing game, and it's very disheartening to see that because that's what we brought him in for. It's why we drafted him at number 8 overall.
Yeah.
We
didn't agree with it.
No. But this is yet another first-round pick for the Lions that has become a disappointment. Sure, it's too early to say he's a total bust just yet.
Yeah, it's too early,
But frankly,
you just
dude's a tight end. How much impact is he going to make?
That's what I'm saying. Just looking at the actual draft, like you drafted a tight end 8th overall, which is what I'm trying to get at. What we were trying to get at with
that's a move that a team makes to take them from a really, really good playoff team to a championship contender.
To go one missing piece.
Right, that's a missing piece one. That's not building a whole roster.
So that's what we were trying to get at with our last episode here was with this team now clearly careening towards the top 5 pick. Do you really want Bob Quinn making that pick? Like,
right now, no, I don't. He's not proven that he's able to make solid draft choices across the draft anymore. He's not proven that he's able to spend wisely in free agency. He's not proven to me that he's able to really get the job done. I'm sorry, he's not. And he's obviously made a very terrible mistake in his head coaching decisions. He hired his buddy, who hired his buddy as the defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And they've all three been an utter failure. Utter failure.
Yeah, some of the moves Quinn made this season really made me jump ship with the drafting of Hawkinson at 8th overall, the trading of Quinn-Tricia Diggs for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah. Who made a great play. Not this past week,
Did you
the
hear
week before.
what Pete Carroll said about it?
Uh-uh.
I got to pull up the quote, but
It's just, a lot of the moves that Bob Quinn made this year were kind of make or break moves. They kind of decide what trajectory your career is going to go. And all of them this year has been straight downhill. For the most part, Trey Flowers this year has been non-existent. I know he's had a hot stretch of games as of late. But for the most part this year, he's been kind of quiet. It's Bob Quinn has, what move in this offseason did he hit on? Because the TJ Hawkinson pick didn't hit. Trey Flowers, you can argue, is a kind of hit, but not really. His second-round draft pick, Jelani Tavai, I don't ever even hear his name called. Amani Oruwariye finally gets on the football field. Sure, he made a pick this weekend, but he finally got on the football field. Like, what move this offseason that Bob Quinn made was a success? And not even just this offseason, but this season, including the trade deadline. What one was a success? None of them. Even giving Snacks the extra year on his deal wasn't a success because he's been no good.
Trade Flowers wasn't a success.
And I know I openly admit I wanted Snacks. I wanted them to give Snacks the opportunity to come back. I did.
We questioned the Trade Flowers signing, but we did like the Snacks extension.
Yes. And I'm not an NFL GM. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. I study the team, so I'll get things wrong. I'm not an NFL GM. It's not my job to do things right. It's my job to speculate. It's my job to. It's not even my job. It's my hobby to speculate. It's my hobby to watch and to analyze and to break it down and get into it. And but that's because I'm a nerd. I'm a sports nerd. Openly admit to that. I don't understand a lot of the moves Bob Quinn made. Just the mentality seems so all over the place. He tried to make the splashy signing and then in one spot and cheap out elsewhere.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me.
So this is from Peter King from NBC Sports. He was talking about Quinn Diggs and Pete Carroll as well. He said, I think speaking of Detroit, someday I'd like to figure out why they traded one of the game's most underrated players, safety Quinn Diggs, to Seattle for a 5th-round pick last month. Bizarre trade then, and now, with what Pete Carroll said, he helps other players and guys around him play better. Straight confusing.
That kind of tells you what the Lions player skill recognition is.
Yeah.
How many times have we traded away a guy because he was a bust here, go out and do something with another team? Eric Ebron did it last year with the Colts. Granted, this year hasn't been as successful, but he also doesn't have Andrew Luck anymore. Kyle Van Noy's become a mainstay in the Patriots defense and has beaten you.
But I wouldn't even say Quinn was a bust here. He
was not having a good season here. He was not.
Yeah.
Not this year.
Not this year. You were a few games into the season. That's what I'm saying.
I know, but he was good. He was good last year. And you gave him the extension, which was one that was
gave him
questioned.
Extension, named him captain.
It was questioned, but this year he wasn't having a very good year, and you trade him elsewhere, and the dude automatically becomes good again. Is it just people don't want to play for this organization anymore? Do they not want to play for Martha Ford? Do they not want to play for Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia and Paul Pasqualoni? Because it could be. I don't know. Like I don't know what goes on in that locker room. I had heard reports that Quandre Diggs was kind of grumbling, but do I know? No. I can only see what's on the football field, and that team looked uninspired. That team looked like they were mistake prone, that's coaching.
Yeah.
That's coaching. That comes down. That goes down on them.
Yeah.
I don't have a reason right now to bring either Bob Quinn or Matt Patricia back. I don't have a reason to do it.
Because
the roster's only gotten worse. The team isn't winning. They're only getting worse year over year.
Unless you can see them building and coaching a championship-winning team.
What's there to build on?
That's what I'm saying. Unless you can see them building and coaching a championship team, there's no point bringing them back.
What young talent do we have this year? Do you think is going to be markedly better next season?
That's what I'm saying. I'm agreeing with you.
I know. I'm frustrated.
I'm just saying for the people out there that still want them, like, can you really see them building and coaching a championship team in Detroit?
Hell no. I don't even know that Bill Belichick could coach a championship team in Detroit. This team finds weird ways to lose football games, let me tell you.
Did you see the way the Cowboys lost yesterday?
Yeah, the tripping penalty. I thought that was
one. That's a weird one.
I was confused by that because I thought tripping was a penalty in hockey.
And there was no tripping anyways.
I know.
No tripping was a penalty, but there was no tripping that happened.
I know.
But yeah, so we know what we want, but that goes back to the question. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because Matt Patricia had his presser today. And he was asked about if he expects to be here next year, and he kind of dodged the question.
Did he gave no reason why he would be here?
He basically said we're focused on Thursday, as expected.
It's the typical coach speak move. It's he's going to avoid that question because he probably knows his job is in trouble.
But now I ask you, not do you want Matt Patricia here next year, but do you expect Matt Patricia to still be the coach of the Detroit Lions in 2020?
I'll be honest with you, no, I don't. I think Bob Quinn kind of sealed both their fates when he said this is a better team than a 9-7 football team, and we've now had 2 seasons where we've gotten worse and worse. And the 2 common denominators are him and his coach and the head coach you brought in and his buddy and Matt Patricia. That's the 2 things across the board that have told me that they can't get this done. It's time to move on. I think both are gone after this season because, frankly, Martha Ford has shown. I don't want to necessarily call it a desire, but a blind faith in this football team winning games. I don't think she knows what she's doing. I don't think she has any idea on a path to get to winning seasons. But she just looks at the record at the end of the year and says, "Oh, we didn't win, so I got to get rid of everybody." And that's why I think it'll happen.
Yeah.
That's why I think it'll happen that they're gone. Because she'll look at that record year over year in Matt Patricia's tenure here and say, "We're worse than we were before. What the hell are you doing? You both suck. Goodbye." With her little sunglasses and golf cart, hand them their pink slips. She obviously wants to win football games, but she doesn't know how to do it, so she brings in the wrong people. But she's certainly willing to get rid of the wrong people also.
Yeah.
And I think both Patricia and Quinn are the wrong people.
I just have trouble believing that Martha Ford is anywhere near knowledgeable or cares enough about the Detroit Lions
she
or
allowed
football.
it to happen. She brought in Bob Quinn. She allowed him to fire Jim Caldwell, who she openly admitted she liked. That's the thing, is I don't think she's overly attached to these 2 guys, especially Matt Patricia. So I think she does have kind of a short leach. Because if you remember, one of the reasons Caldwell
That's not what I'm saying, though. I'm talking about, like if she got rid of him, I don't think, with ownership being under her, I don't see her being like a knowledgeable enough person to know who to bring in and try to get
who
this
to
ship
bring in.
straightened
Sure,
out.
that's a different story, though. That's
We've
a totally
seen Marth Vader.
It'll be on Rod Wood.
She gives 0 Fs.
It'll be on Rod Wood to bring in the GM
facilities and just says you're out. You're out.
That's what I said. It's a blind faith that this team will be able to win football games at some point. But it'll be on. Ooh, breaking news.
Yep. Unranked Virginia Tech just beat Michigan State.
Yikes.
We live in such a fun city, don't we?
Whatever. But
it's all we had left was Michigan State basketball.
I know, as Michigan State fans, yes. If you remember going back, one of the biggest reasons that Jim Caldwell got the extra season here once Bob Quinn came here was because of Martha Ford. She loved Jim Caldwell. She talked very highly of Jim Caldwell. He was a character man.
I love Jim Caldwell.
Yes, the famous quote. He was a character man. She loved that. He put a mentality in the locker room of good behavior. Believe in each other and play for me, and I got your back. He always had his players back, and you know what? Those players did play for him. Terrible Sunday game day coach. Terrible game day coach. But Monday through Saturday, players loved him. I have heard nothing from Martha Ford in that respect for Matt Patricia. She's not attached to this guy. I don't even know if she likes him. So that kind of leads me to believe that maybe she is just going to say, all right, here's the axe, go, and we'll find something new. We'll allow Rod Wood to find us a GM, and then we'll allow him to bring in a coaching staff. It's not a lot of positives here with the Detroit Football Lions in the city, because it's kind of some dark times, and we're heading down a very dark path here with not a lot of light at the end of the tunnel. And now I hear reports that Matthew Stafford's going around being maniacal about getting back on the football field this year, and I just want to take him
idiotic.
I just want to take him,
if he played,
show him pictures of his wife and children, and say, Matt, go home.
Think about them.
Go home. Spend the rest of the season with your family. Go on vacation. Enjoy it, relax, rest, heal up. Next year's another year. And then I'd use that top 5 pick we're inevitably going to get out of quarterback. Because Matt Stafford's not old, or is not young anymore. And he's not going to get any cheaper. And he's not going to get any healthier. This is now his second straight year with a broken back.
Well, it's still the same
No,
injury.
they said it's a different injury.
They said this has been a lingering thing for a year and a half.
They came out and said it's a different injury. It's not the same injury as last year. That's not a good thing. Even if it is the same injury, still not a good thing.
But let's move on to basketball. I'm trying to talk about this team.
Sure. Well, I wanted to kind of touch on the point of, we'll catch that later with the final topic. Just go ahead.
Okay. So Pistons are careening. They've lost 6 of their last 7, 5-11. They play tonight. As of the recording of the show, they're 5-11. They do have a game. Coming up here against the who are they playing tonight? I'm blanking on this one. The Magic. So, but I think the story of this season I think there's 2 things that the story of this season revolves on right now. One, overall conditioning. It seems like way too many of our players are hurt. Now Tony Snell's missed his 4th straight game. Why? Our team cannot. We're only 15 games to 16 games to the season, and we have injuries across the board. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. And I feel like at some point you kind of look at the conditioning and look at what's going on there.
Conditioning, yes, is a big factor, and the guys out there do look a lot slower than I remember, at least. Yeah. Tony Snell played such a big role for the Bucks when healthy last year, and I'm not seeing that this year. Derrick Rose has been a bright spot for the most part. Yeah. But honestly, I don't know what's going on in the head of Dwayne Casey, but what the hell are his lineups?
Oh, yeah.
He deserves a lot of blame here. I'm not going to lie. And I like Dwayne Casey. I liked the hire. I liked him last year, and I was very excited about him coming into this year. But his lineup management this year has been absolutely god-awful. That whole coaching staff needs to be looked at. From the strength and conditioning coaching to the head coach to the assistant coaches, they all need to be looked at right now and say, okay, I don't know what you've been drinking, but stop. Because what you're doing ain't working.
No, yeah.
The lineup we trotted out to start the 4th quarter the other night was ridiculous.
We even saw Saku and Jordan Bone come out and play for a little bit. That was
send
fun.
both of them back to the G League, please. They're not ready for the show. I believe Saku's first outside shot was an air ball. They're not ready for the show yet.
Yeah.
Send them back down. It was cute and it was fun, sure. But they're not ready. Send them down. If you need to sign a guy for a 10-day contract, fine, do that instead.
Because let's be honest, their experience in the G League is probably more beneficial than the garbage 2 minutes they got at the end of that game.
Absolutely. 100%, especially when he's shooting up air balls. 100%.
But I do think one of the spotlights here on this this season so far has been on Blake Griffin, and
As it should be. He's the leader of this basketball team.
It's clear he's
not there.
not the same that he was not even close to the same he was last year. For one, his 3-point shot has fallen off completely.
I mean,
which was the biggest part of his
his resurgence, his reinvention.
Reinvent. That was what I was looking for. The reinvention of his game. He's now shooting 21% from three.
Well, it's pretty obvious that maybe last year was just kind of a splash in the. I don't know if it's obvious, but maybe last year was a splash in the pan for him. It was a resurgence year. It was the best year he's ever played in his career, and we said it all along. It'd be unfair to expect that kind of production year over year with Blake Griffin because that was on a new level for him.
I don't
that
think
was
anyone was
different.
expecting to replicate last year.
He
but
just isn't even close.
This is a massive drop.
He just isn't even close.
You're talking a 5-point right now. As of right now, a 5-point per game drop off. You're talking an almost 15% drop off from three. You're talking a 6% drop off from the field, 46% to 40%.
He's not the same player this year. There's no question about it. And I'll be honest with you, I really do think that knee is a bigger problem than what he's letting us believe because you can tell on his outside shots, he's not getting his legs underneath him.
Yeah.
He's struggling out there. He's not running at the same speed. He's not making cuts. Moving laterally, he's slower than you. I mean, it's a struggle to watch him at times, and he looks like he's in pain. Let him sit. I understand we kind of need him right now because the team got off to such a poor start, but let the man sit.
Yeah.
Don't ruin trade value at this point.
And that's the question I have is what do we do with Blake Griffin? It's starting to become
right
clear
now.
we really should have
Dealt him at the end of last year or at the deadline last year.
But right now,
especially with the start to the season they've got.
Do you just take the bullet, let him rest, or are you trying to let him play through it?
I'll be honest with you.
Throwing out Hail Marys in terms of trade offers?
I think you got to give him another 10 days, another, maybe 10 games. I don't know. I think you got to give him a little bit more time because he's not right. Yeah. He's not. No. He's a far better basketball player than what we've seen him thus far. He's not right, and he needs to get right. So give him a little bit more time off, 5, 10 games.
Let him work out the kinks off the court.
Yeah, absolutely.
Off the game court.
Yeah,
go on the practice court.
let his legs
scrimmage
rest.
And stuff. Let him do that, but
I don't need to see Blake Griffin out there looking like he's 45.
Yeah.
It doesn't help us, and it certainly doesn't help him to have to grind out night after night because he's in pain. Yeah. And do I even know if that's the case? Absolutely not. I don't. Yeah. I'm not Blake Griffin. I'm not his doctor, and I'm not the trainer.
Because the way he looks, there's no way he's lasting the whole season either. So,
oh, God, no.
You may as well let him rest.
I'll be honest with you. The way I look at him play, he looks like he'll play no more than 45 games.
Yeah. It doesn't look good. But, so I think the overarching question is there any hope to grasp on with the Pistons this year? Because what we've seen to start the season has been abysmal. Especially the last 7 games.
Yeah. They look like a mess. They don't look gelled. And maybe that is the issue because, they did bring in a lot of new pieces this season in some kind of crucial spots, and they haven't gelled as a result. So maybe that is a reason to believe is they just haven't gelled yet, and they need to start gelling. As they continue to add in pieces back that have been hurt, eventually you'd think they would hit a stride and start, popping off a few W's in a row. And
that's what's going to be annoying is because your biggest source of offense is Blake Griffin. You sit him and let the rest of the team gel, then you put him back, it's going to mess up the chemistry again.
Right.
It's a lose-lose situation here with deciding what to do with Blake Griffin. You either let him play and let him gel, but then
I'll tell you right now, though, without Blake Griffin, this basketball team is not a playoff team.
Exactly. It's
so
not.
You're going to have to allow that to happen. You're going to have to allow them to use have the growing pains to adjust to Blake being reinserted into that lineup. You have to.
Maybe just cap his minutes.
What?
Maybe just cap his minutes.
For now, sure, maybe.
Let him get some run with the starting unit, like a little bit every game. Maybe let him play 25 minutes a game.
I mean, sure, for now, at least to get him, stretch his legs out. And eventually, though, you're going to have to rely on him for 30, 35 minutes a game. You're going to have to. He is the most important part of this basketball team. He is your quote-unquote star. You need him.
It's just even if you start stringing wins together, he's not going to be filled over the final stretch of the season at this rate.
You can't, there's an old saying of you can't win... You can't win a playoff spot in November, but you can certainly lose one.
Yep.
You certainly can lose one, and they're off to a pretty solid start in that department.
Yep.
Let me tell you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's been rough watching this basketball team because I had
almost impossible
solid
to watch.
I know.
Like
it's bad.
It hurts my eyes.
Well, when you're trotting out lineups with Don Maker and
It was Thon Maker, Tim Frazier, Bruce Brown. Who else is in that lineup?
I don't know, but it was embarrassing. Langston Galloway, I think, was out there. I don't know, but it was an embarrassing lineup that my jaw just dropped. I said, "What the hell is this?"
And that was in a game where you like going in the fourth quarter, you were within single digits. Like,
and that's why I'm saying,
boy.
like, what is Dwayne Casey? Excuse me, what is Dwayne Casey doing here? That lineup is inexcusable. What do you expect to happen with that? And then, lo and behold, the Bucks go on a 17-4 run. Like, what do you expect to happen there? That lineup is terrible, and you let it ride. I mean, yikes, man.
It's like when we're playing in 2K and I'm like, you know what? I'm not winning this game. Let me throw let me do this fun lineup that I just want to mess around with a little bit. Let me get all the shortest guys in the crowd.
Let me put all the seniors in. It's a rough watch. It really is. And, I love my Pistons, and I had solid expectations for them coming into the season. I thought they had a ceiling of a 6 seed. I thought there's a lot of teams out there that are better than them.
Yeah.
But I thought they had a ceiling of a 6 seed. And frankly, I don't even know if they're that close. They're not even close to that right now.
No,
I'm struggling to see them as an 8 seed.
Well, here's a quick quiz. Bleacher Report released their newest rankings today. Where are the Pistons ranked? Out of 30 teams.
25th.
Right on.
They're not a good basketball team right now. And no, I did not see those rankings earlier today. That was a total guess. Because that's where I'd put them.
Only teams that they're ahead of are Cleveland,
They suck.
Memphis,
They suck.
the Hawks,
Really?
the Knicks, and
The Knicks definitely suck.
number 30, Golden State.
If you have a team that's trotting out Marcus Morris
I
to take
told
your...
you coming in this year that Golden State would be number 30 on the rankings.
I
I'm
would have said
11,
somebody would have had to get
25.
hurt. But if you're a team that trots out Marcus Morris to take your game-winning ISO shot, you know you're a bad basketball team. At least he hit it, though. Oh, man. Andrew, let me ask you this, because I felt like I've hogged the mic for most of this.
Yeah, I've just been posing the questions.
I know. But what do the Pistons need to do? What's the light at the end of the tunnel for the Pistons here?
If I'm going to be brutally honest here, the way this team is constructed, I don't see one. We don't. Our two biggest offensive playmakers, one is hurt, and one is constantly going to keep getting hurt. And outside of that,
at least it's balanced between starting rotation and bench this year. There's a positive.
And then your best shooter doesn't mesh with your best offensive playmaker.
No, because I really like Luke Kennard, and especially this year, I think he's taking a step up. If there's one positive I had to look at with this roster, it's Luke Kennard's progression, because I do think he's becoming into his own player. He's filling out what we hoped he would be. He is. Is he always on point? No, he's not. But you see, solid streaks and flashes of this guy who's a good basketball player. Will he ever be a star? No, but he's a good basketball player. But he doesn't work with that starting rotation because he becomes an afterthought behind guys like Reggie Jackson. And granted, Reggie's hurt, and who knows if the dude will ever play again for this team. But behind guys like Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond. And that just can't happen. Frankly, if between those three, Drummond should be the number 3 guy. Luke and Blake should be taking a majority of the shots and touching the basketball a majority of the time. But that's not the case. And I think that's one of the problems with this basketball team is I feel like the Pistons continue to draw up some of these plays for Andre Drummond that are there to appease him. He doesn't have a great post game. I'm sorry. If I have to see him try to pull back to the basket move one more damn time, I may rip my hair out.
Like that's what I'm saying. The way this team's constructed, plus the injury problems we're having, I just don't see light in the tunnel for the team this season. This season,
how disappointing!
It's already looking like it's doomed to fail from the start.
It does,
and that's why I was kind of arguing like I do feel like the best play for you right now is maybe do rest Blake Griffin a bit. It's not. I don't think you're going to get fined by the league because he clearly is not 100%,
not healthy.
So it's not. You're not going to be fine for resting a healthy player. Help him get healthy. Maybe if your young guys are trying to get a couple wins, maybe you can throw in Blake Griffin midway through the season to make a playoff push. Maybe. I don't know. But worst comes to worst, you bottom out and get a top end pick because you haven't had. Well, we had a top 10 pick last year, but we used on a project who could pan out to be really good, but
we don't know yet. Have you seen some of his highlights in the G League?
So he's looked nice in the G League, but my one worry is what I have still been seeing in the G League is his ball handling. He seems to, when he tries to drive to the basket, he seems to consistently lose control of the basketball.
He does, but there's something else I've noticed with his game that I don't really love.
What is it?
He does it really well. Don't get me wrong. He's very solid at it, but he plays really below the rim.
Oh, yeah, he's a below the rim guy,
and he almost plays slow below the rim. Like it's a lot of baby hooks and a lot of back to the basket slow play and put a slow move on and make a good shot. But at the same time,
obviously he can dunk, but he's not like a flashy
right.
Kind of
but at the same
finisher.
time, it's 2019 and this is the NBA. Nobody plays like that anymore. That's it. That's a game for the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
It's almost like the game is ahead of his style of play. Does he do it well in the G League? Absolutely, he does. But it's not. It's not anything that made me say, "Damn, this dude's real good." You know what I mean?
Yeah, it makes you wonder if it'll work in the NBA.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like he looks good.
Yeah.
He looks like a very solid player at what he does. But is what he does going to work in the NBA? Because for the most part, no, it doesn't. That style of play doesn't work in the NBA. It's 2019. Nobody plays that way anymore.
Yeah.
I watched highlights and there's a lot to like, but I looked at it and I was like, kind of concerned with that, because I didn't love that. But dude does look like a solid player, at least against G League talent. But anyways, that was something, just a thought. But
yeah, I'm trying not to be negative, but I'm really from what I've been seeing, I'm really starting to think the best option for this team right now is to try to I don't want to say tank, but like rest your league guys. And worst comes to worst, you're getting a top 10 pick, and you can actually try to get an impact player that can impact the team now.
Well, I mean, we're getting to the quarter of the way part of the season.
And then if you got a guy that can impact his team now, and then if Sue can develop enough to actually play some minutes next year, you might start to Saku. You might start to get a nice young core going there.
Maybe. But we're getting to the quarter mark of the season. We're getting there. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
And you're 5, 6, 7 games below 500 right now. I mean, you're not a good basketball team by any stretch of the measure.
Like even if you make the playoffs, you're not making much noise.
No, not with this. Not the way things are right now. And you could argue it is just a gelling thing.
Yeah.
You could argue it is a chemistry thing.
Yeah, because it is still technically early, but
I'm still also just not seeing a lot of talent on this roster.
The quarter point of the season is quickly approaching, and you're
very much so.
Very down the water.
I mean, you're only a few games away from it.
Yeah.
So then let me kind of change gears with this conversation here and say, if that's the case and you do want to bottom out, what do you do with contracts like Langston Galloway, who's expiring, Reggie Jackson, who's expiring, Andre Drummond, who's got a year left on his contract, Blake Griffin, for that matter? What do you do in Derrick Rose, who's got another year, but
deal him for picks?
But how many picks?
Capital.
How many of those guys are actually worth picks? I don't think Reggie or Langston are going to get you a pick. I don't even know what Drummond's going to get you because your owner values him way more than anybody else does. And with Drummond, there's maybe 10 teams in the league who even want a player like that. And Blake Griffin's, his contract hinders that move. So it's tough to even move the pieces you got for what you want anyway.
But it's never about the player. Teams are usually willing to give up.
Yeah, but you're not going to get
draft capital. Teams that are looking to win right now are usually willing to give draft capital to clear cap space.
To also get rid of a bad contract, though. You have to make the money work no matter what. And the way for them to do it is to give you a first round pick and a bad contract to take on a couple expiring deals that equals out. Do you really want to have this team take on another bad contract? Because that's the caveat. But then again, you think about it and you look at the expiring deals and what are they worth to you? Because people don't play here. People don't come here freely. They don't. That's just the fact of the matter. I wish they did, but they don't. When's our last big-time free agent signing? Chauncey was a journeyman. Rip was traded for. Rasheed was traded for. Ben was a journeyman. Not really a journeyman, but he wasn't a big-time signing.
Was it Josh Smith? Was our last big name guy we signed?
Dude was a flame out with Atlanta at that point.
Like he was one of the biggest signings of that summer.
I know, but he was still kind of like Atlanta didn't want him anymore. So
That's because he refused to play his position.
right. So that's what I'm saying though is who's your biggest free agent signing in the last 25 years? You know, people don't come here. They don't want your money. You got to make them come here. You got to draft them. You got to trade for them. So we got to find a way to bring in.
That's what I'm saying. I want
talent.
to try to get draft cap. That's what I'm targeting is draft capital.
You're not likely to. You're not going to get draft capital for guys like Langston and Reggie unless you take on a bad contract.
If you Reggie, that can clear up $15 million in cap
Yes,
space
but
for
you
a
have
team.
to make the money work. You're not going to get another expiring deal there.
You're not going to get an expiring deal and a draft pick.
That's what I'm saying. But you have to make the money work.
But
You can't just give $15 million for free.
We're going with your argument that you can't sign free agents in this town.
So then do you take a bad contract?
So you
on?
take on the bad contract that gets you draft capital.
Fair enough. That's fine. If that's what you want to do, fine. I mean, one team you could look at is the Hornets, and I posed this to you earlier. Do you take Nick Batum's contract to get a first-round pick and maybe even Malik Monk? I mean, I might do that.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie.
Especially for a guy like Reggie.
Well, you got to add more to that. You got to add more to that deal because of the fact that the contracts don't work.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to add another $10 million to that probably.
Because I think for Drummond, you could get actually a young asset for him too. But
I think Malik Monk is a young asset.
But anyway,
dude's improved every year he's been in the league. I like Malik Monk.
But anything else you want to close out the show with before we?
Yes, there was actually one more thing I wanted to pose, and it kind of
Yeah.
piggybacks off of some, little back and forth stuff on Twitter earlier. Barstool Sports mentioned, I believe it was actually 97.1 who brought this up to Barstool and mentioned doing like a T-shirt thing of Martha Ford
Yep.
saying "sell the team" and having the fans.
Are you asking if I'm going to buy it?
Yeah, actually, are you? I mean, for me, it would depend on the price. I'm not
Yeah.
going to spend like $30 on
I'm
a
probably
randomized
not going to
T-shirt,
buy either
but
way. But I'll be honest. with you.
it'd be a fun little novelty.
It's fun, and I hope.
Could you imagine wearing that on the show?
I hope people buy it, but like that's the kind of shirt that like it quickly becomes a gym shirt. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. I mean, it'd be a fun one to wear on the show.
Yeah.
On the live show. But, and if we ever go to a Lions game,
yeah, true.
which, by the way, tickets probably super cheap. $4 this past weekend for that Lions-Redskins game. $4. That's embarrassing. Did you see Michigan State, Maryland prices this weekend?
$1.
$1. Yeah. And you know what? I wouldn't even pay that. I wouldn't go. You're not going to get me to sit out in the cold like that. Anyways.
You gotta pay me.
Anyways, but with the whole caveat of sell the team,
Yeah.
Fans were trying to rally together to have Martha Ford sell the team. I'm gonna do this as a two-parter kind of thing.
Okay.
One, do you want to have her sell a team, and to whom? Who would you want to buy the team?
Oh shit.
Give a dream name or a name you think is realistic. And two, I want us to rank the owners in this city. Because very obviously, it's not a good time in Detroit sports. We're of the cities that have four teams in the major sports. A team in the NBA, NHL, NFL, and MLB. We're the only city that doesn't have a single winning record of our teams. From our teams. I think there's 10 cities that have that, and we're one of them.
12.
12 cities, and we don't have a single winning record, and we're the only one. So it's not good.
Nope.
So I want to go ahead and answer the first part, and then let's go ahead and rank the ownership in this city.
I don't know if I have a specific name for you, but like my one criteria with the owner is someone who is both knowledgeable of football and passionate about the sport and about creating a winning organization and culture. That's like my two core.
So you want Mark Cuban
requirements.
to buy the Lions?
I actually would love that, to be honest.
Yeah,
with you.
we're gonna do it.
I know, but like again, I don't have a name because I don't just know billionaires off the top of my head. But like,
I mean, the hot name that's been thrown around is Jeff Bezos because he did show an interest in owning an
I did
NFL
hear
team.
that one.
That's the hot name. I don't think it'll happen,
Yeah.
but he has shown an interest in buying an NFL team, and the Lions were immediately a hot button topic to come up for that. I wouldn't mind. I know Jeff Bezos probably doesn't know a ton about football, but I wouldn't mind it because I feel like he'd be willing to spend the money in the right spots. Be willing to spend a little bit extra to get the right GM, or spend a little bit extra to get the right head coach, or hell, maybe make some improvements to the area surrounding the stadium or in the stadium to make people want to go there. Because Ford Field's boring. It's a boring stadium.
Yeah. Oh no, if Jeff Bezos bought the team, you can
expect a culture change.
Bet your ass that whole stadium is getting redesigned.
Yes, you'd expect a culture change.
Yeah.
And
It's getting modernized.
Yeah. So, and maybe better facilities in Allen Park. I mean, he'd be likely willing to spend the money because he's got it. So, that's a guy I've heard brought up, and I've heard Dan Gilbert brought up in the past. I've heard that name, and that's a guy who is a fan who would be more on the fan billionaire element, who would have a desire to win. Mm-hmm. So there's an opportunity that could happen. Granted, he'd have to sell some of his gambling piece equity, but that's just the case, and I think he would be willing to. No, I think he would be willing to for an NFL team. Hell yeah, especially in his hometown. So I think that's something that could happen. But do you agree with
my 2 core requirements?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I don't necessarily want it to be a fan, so to speak, but I want it to be someone who knows football.
Exactly. So someone who's passionate about football and someone who's knowledgeable about football.
Yeah.
Passion and knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
When those two meet, that breeds success.
Let me ask you this then: do you think Martha Ford sells the team?
No,
I don't either. Because I think her daughter Sheila is already kind of pushing her way in from things I've heard.
So that's like if they were to sell a team, they would have done it by now.
Yeah, they probably would have when
if they had when William they would have done when William Ford passed away. If they had any interest in selling the team.
Nope, that team would be passed down the Ford family forever. Yeah. So then I guess we'll kind of turn it over.
It's a family tradition.
It's becoming one. Losing, yeah. So with that being said, let's go ahead and rank the ownership in this city.
All right.
Who is our and I want you to take it. Mm-hmm. I want you to rank each team individually because I have a reason for that.
Okay.
So because I know one owner owns
versus rank Illich's owner.
Yes. Okay. So in my opinion, the worst owner in this city is honestly Illich owning the Tigers. The direction with that team is absolutely piss poor. Mm-hmm. They've not been able to hit on any single trade deal. Now I know that's on the GM, but their willingness to stay loyal to a GM who has not shown an ability to do anything right in his tenure here. And I mean anything. Yeah. Like dude hasn't done a damn thing right. Mm-hmm. Not a single trade has been a win for the Tigers so far.
And I agree with you on Ford being Illich for the Tigers.
He doesn't really know what he's doing with this baseball team. There's no direction. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. It's just a team that's going to be a perennial god-awful baseball team, and they're going to be one again next year. And they show no ability to get any better. They've got no prospects that I look at and say, hey, that's something to be excited about. Sure, Casey Mai is wonderful, but dude's already showing shoulder issues. That's not good.
Number 3, I'll go Fords.
I'll go the Fords as well at number 3. I'll agree with you there.
Because two things. They both seem very hands-off and also seem not to care too much, which are...
See, the Fords are hands-off, hands-off, hands-on in a sense of, like, they're hands-off in certain spots that I think they would want to be hands-on in, and they're hands-off, hands-on in spots that just don't make sense for them to be hands-on, I agree with you that they just don't seem to care. Like they don't seem to care about the success of this organization and this football team. They care about the almighty dollar, and that's about it.
Yeah. I'm gonna go number 2, Goris.
I'm gonna agree with you. And that's not saying a lot.
Yeah, but my one positive with Goris is how
at least he cares about competing.
Yeah, like he's actually willing to spend whatever it takes, and he's willing to do stuff to win.
His money kind of goes into some weird places, like bringing guys like Tayo Cruz to do a halftime show, and throwing T-shirts for every single 3-pointer made. God, that's embarrassing.
And the fact that he does like show up to some games and is on the sidelines, and
Yeah, but I don't like when he does because he embarrasses himself.
It shows like he cares a little bit. It
does. And now, mind you, I think it's all kind of fake careness because he doesn't live here. He's never even here to begin with. Yeah. So it is kind of a fake showing. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying by ranking him number 2 in the city that he's a good owner. I don't even think he's a good owner. I think he's a bad owner. I'd like him to sell the team. Yeah. I don't want him to own this basketball team anymore because he meddles into shit he shouldn't because he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Like, we could have had a deal for Andre Drummond years ago and not be in this mess, but no, he had to meddle and stop it.
He has the makeup of a good owner, except for one aspect. I don't feel he's knowledgeable at basketball at all.
And he meddles in basketball decisions. Exactly. If you don't know what you're talking about, don't do stuff like that.
If he brought someone on with him that's like a basketball consultant.
You mean like Dan Gilbert? There was rumors of that happening.
It might actually work at that point. But
I wouldn't disagree with you. I mean, it's confused me very much on Tom Goris's tenure because he has shown a willingness to spend money, and yes, in weird spots, and yes, he gets way too many T-shirts for basketball games because one, there's not as many fans as there are T-shirts in the building, and two, they don't make enough threes to throw them all. So, so it's and he does drink a lot during games and is embarrassing. He's not always a good look when he gets on the microphone. I'd like him to be a little bit more in the background than he is. I like the fact that he's kind of passionate as an owner. It's good. It shows life. I just think he's doing it in areas that don't necessarily look good for us, and I want that to change. And then he has to meddle in the basketball decisions also. I want that to change for that reason. I think the fact that he meddles in basketball decisions that he has no idea what he's talking about. That's all I need to know. So, and then in my opinion, there's one team that I actually do think has light at the end of the tunnel. It's the Detroit Red Wings and the ownership group there with the Ilitches. I think this is one where they're actually kind of doing things right. But I also think this is the easiest one to get right. I'm not going to lie to you. Because you have such a connection between your fan base and your team and organization and your alumni for this to work. And by that I mean you have so many of the alumni that the fan base grew up with and loved forever in your organization. Nicholas Lidstrom over in Sweden still doing scouting for us. You still have guys like Chris Osgood in the organization. You still have guys like Larry Murphy in the organization. Stevie Y's your GM. And that was one of the best moves I've seen any Detroit sports team make in the last decade, was bringing Stevie back. And he's a proven GM who knows what the hell he's doing, has an ability to build a championship team, and I think he's doing it the right way. He doesn't care who you are. If you have a bad contract and he's trying to build something, he'll get rid of your ass. He did it in Tampa Bay. He did it here. And he should do it that way because he knows what it takes to build a winning team. It took stones for Stevie Y to go down to Tampa Bay and within months of being there, ship Marty St. Louis out of there. St. Louis was loved there. And he said, you have a bad contract, goodbye. It took stones, and he did it. And it worked. And I think he's going to do it here, too. And he already did it with Jonathan Erickson. Granted, Erickson's back with the team because he cleared waivers, and they had to call him back up because of injury.
It's crazy to think how one owner could be so good for one organization, yet so bad for another.
I'll tell you why, and it has to do with Mr. I, in fact. The Ilitch family never really wanted the Tigers. That was Mr. I. That was Mike Ilitch's love. That was his deal. He wanted the Tigers. The rest of them did not, never did. They were always the Wings.
So they were always themselves the Tigers.
They were always in the Wings situation. They should. They should sell the Tigers. They don't want the team. It doesn't work for them, and they don't work for the Tigers. It's not working there. But they do work for the Wings. They do have, a passion for that organization. They are making the right moves. There is a good connection between the ownership group or the owners and the fan base. There is, there's a level of camaraderie there that works. And I think it should continue. And I like the way that they've, built this organization. They put the right pieces in place who have then made the right decisions in bringing in the young talent that they've got to then build. Because there is light at the end of the tunnel. Do I think it happens next year? Absolutely not. Do I think it happens the year after that? That's the year I think that they're actually going to be a semi-competitive hockey team. And then you go beyond that, I think you're fighting for playoffs. Maybe even more. This team could be good in just a couple of years. And can we say that for any of the other teams in this city? Absolutely not.
And then to close out the show, one final question in conclusion.
Yes.
So what's more depressing, Detroit sports or Manchester by the Sea?
Detroit sports. I don't care about Manchester by the Sea.
In conclusion, one of the most,
I very much care about
depressing films I've ever seen, in my opinion. But
yes, I very much care about Detroit sports. I don't care about Manchester by the Sea.
In conclusion, Detroit sports are more depressing than Manchester by the Sea. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you guys for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. We will catch you guys next week. Andrew, thank you for joining me. Check our live show out, www.twitch.tv/thefanreport. Hit us up on Twitter if you have any questions, comments, or anything you want us to hit up on the next show or touch on. We thank you guys again, and we'll see you next week. This has been the Fan Reporters. Bye, fans.
For fans.
Have a good one, guys. Peace out.
Good night and good luck.